Let me record, and it's all you, okay?
Okay.
Did we just start?
Yeah, we just did. Like two. Alright, so what are you
Okay, so I think we might get started in about a minute or so, if you're good to go. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so let's get started.
Let's just do it.
Yeah, let's just do this. All right, anyway, good to see you. Greetings from Dubai. Yeah, so today I'm just going to kind of talk to you a little bit about how we should structure this sort of study skills curriculum session-wise over short term and a long term. And I mean, also we're dealing with the fact of, you know, other tips that I can share as far as how we can tell when kids are struggling with study skills, you know, some small remedies that we can make. Obviously, it's like a really long-term process, so it's difficult to see a quick fix. A lot of parents are they may expect that, but we have to tell them, you know, this is the reality. These are deeply ingrained issues with study habits that need to be fixed, you know. So anyway, I think where we can start first was I was going to start with how we structure a sort of time management curriculum on the short term. You know, when we talk about being in one lesson, for instance, right? Oh, John's here. Hi, John.
Hi, John.
Hey, what's up? Okay, so we'll wait for him to get his earbuds in. Yeah. Okay. All right, can you hear us?
To the office?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you turn your volume up a little though? I can barely hear you. So okay, good.
All right.
Awesome.
Just hold it.
That's good. That's good. Good to see
Yes.
you.
Thank
So
you.
we just got started.
Right.
So what I'm trying to talk about today is basically how to structure, a time management curriculum on a short-term and a long-term scale. Now, I want to talk first about how we should organize a session for study help. Obviously, we have to be kind of resourceful here. We have to be flexible because there are many different subjects that are going to get spun around. One day it could be chemistry, another day it could be history, another day it could be English, So I think, you guys have been here for a while already and are probably well-versed in dealing with different things, on a short-term notice. So the first thing that we want to do is I would suggest that we book an hour and 15 minutes minimum, maybe max an hour and a half for a so-called study skills session. And we're talking maybe about a 12 to 15 week period. So we're talking like basic package plus a few hours. It could be more if the parent becomes very reliant on you as a study skills sort of tutor. So, during an estimated hour, 15 minutes, we should do three things. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to spend about 10 to 12 minutes to assess the student's workload. So this is basically saying, hey, kid, what was your workload? What homework do you have? And we want to help the student prioritize that load. Now, I will tell you from personal experience, many schools, like a lot of schools like Bronx Science, use something called Pupil Path. I don't know if you guys have actually encountered this, but this Pupil Path is basically the online school assignment system. It will actually automatically provide an electronic list of students' assignments according to when the teacher posts those assignments. So you may not want to schedule your study skills session like 2:30 p.m. because a lot of teachers may not have actually put those assignments online. I was meeting study skills kids at like 4, 5, 6 p.m. when everything was kind of in place. Regardless of that, make sure you talk to the parent. They should be able to give you a parent login to Pupil Path, and you should be able to get in and assess the student's assignments. So once you have access to Pupil Path or whatever assignment plan they use, two things you want to do. You want to assess short-term versus long-term assignments. What is immediately due tomorrow, right? Or what is due a week from now, 2 weeks from now? Do we have any long-term tests, right? Classify that. Also, you want to have the kids start, tell you what are subject areas I need help with, I need your help with, what are things that I don't need your help with, because the last thing you want to have the kid do is say, let's do this English assignment together. Actually, I need your help for it, and then you've just like wasted 15 minutes of the session. So those are the two things that you want to do. You also, from the get-go, may want to encourage your kid to really identify things they don't need your help with for two reasons. A, you don't want the first session to become the sort of fire starter for you being the stand-in for every waking assignment. Two, it also makes your kid feel really good when they can say, I don't need your help, right? Gives them some sort of confidence. You don't have to do overkill. One assignment's enough for the starters, right? So that's step one, right? Step two is a longer, step. I would estimate about 50 minutes, maybe an hour if you're doing an hour and a half, right? So this is the focus. This is the focus on the material that requires the attention, right? Now, one thing I will preface this with. Many students are going to see you, the homework helper, as the homework doer, or they may also see you as the paper editor or the proofreader, right? Okay, that works. The proofreading thing is fine once in a while. But do not fall into the trap of actually writing papers or solving questions for your students. You would also be surprised how many parents see you as this. They're like, can you help my kid with the homework? And you're like, no, I can't do that because that violates school laws. Now, one thing I will make it very clear to you, and I had a sort of weird experience with this, but schools like Horace Mann, who are extremely nitpicky about how much work the tutors do, you may get a call from a history teacher. I got a call from a history teacher, and she called me to make it clear that my job was not to write the paper for the student. Obviously, I wasn't doing that. I made it very clear to her I wasn't doing that, but be prepared for that because some teachers will be very touchy about how much work you do. So you might want to phrase it more to the parent and to the student that I'm strictly here for help. Now, how you can do that in practice is this. I broke it down into both English and math type things. So for English assignments, right, if they have a paper, help the student brainstorm ideas. don't give them the ideas, right? But tell them, hey, what are your thoughts on absolutism in the French monarchy, right? Let them fill in the brainstorm, but you can plant the general idea there, right? Plan the overall structure of the paper with them. That's fine. Paragraph 1, what are your bullet points? Let's talk about them. If the kids' bullet points aren't that good, ask them to clarify. You want to give them these feeder questions without actually giving them the answer. It's hard to do, but it's doable. I think another great way is if they have written a paper, provide constructive criticism about the weaknesses behind their argument, but let the student come up with the fix, right? If you get into specifics like grammar, okay, I get it. We're ACT tutors, we're tempted to fix that error. Maybe don't correct the error, but explain what subject-verb agreement is, right? How can they see that their sentence is not correctly set up, right? By that way, you have successfully avoided actually doing the fix, and you've made them think about it, right? If a parent gives you crap about that, and they're like, well, your job is to help my kid write well, you should bring up the point of, intellectual property, right? This is not my paper. We don't want the teacher then to get involved in this. It's a liability issue, right? And then they're going to back off pretty right quick and realize that, okay? As far as math is concerned, I think it's totally fine to take a sample problem from a problem set and work it out step by step with them. But then don't let them off the hook. Give them the next problem in the set. Have them solve it for you right in front of you. If they're still stumbling, help them out a little bit. Have them do a third problem in front of you until you're sure they can do it by themselves. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's kind of how you want to plan it out. Of course, there will be other assignments. I had a kid last year who was really having trouble with global history. So she kind of wanted me to run the focus material on quiz me on this map. Do I know these countries? What do I know about these countries? And she got really good about actually giving me outlines that she had made in class and basically you testing them. And that's also a great way because she's coming up with the answers, so that's what you want to do. By and large, I would say you'll gradually figure out how the kid operates and kind of how good the kid is with taking notes. If the kid is a good note taker, then your job is set. It's pretty easy for you. If the kid's not a good note taker, you might have to improvise a little bit. You might have to encourage the kid to take notes better next time. And that also will help them do a better job in class with that. Okay. Now the third part of this hour in 15 minutes or whatever is the last 15 or to 20 minutes plan, right? You want to plan out unfinished assignments. Most often you will not get through the entire thing that you plan to do, right? Nor do you want to, because then the kid's like, this is a free pass. I get to go and hang out with my friends after this. No, they need to sit their butts down and actually finish what they were supposed to finish, right? So you make it very clear. Student, what do you have remaining? Let's write this down, right? This is where it's going to be a little hard, though, because you can't just say finish the work. They're not going to do it. What you want to do is actually divvy up the work accordingly, set up a plan during the course of the night, make it clear what you expect your students to update you on as they go through these unfinished assignments. They should be texting these to you. They should be screenshotting these to you, right? So here's what I kind of did. So, let's assume that your student has 3 assignments due immediately. They have a bio worksheet, a maths problem set, and a French paragraph due. You got through the history, but you didn't get to these assignments, right? So what you might want to say is, make an outline for them. The bio worksheet should take 35 minutes. I want you to start at 6 p.m. It should be done by 6:35. Therefore, I expect a screenshot from you by about 6:35. Hold them to that, right? Don't just back off and, think, oh, I'll allow them 15 minutes. They've probably gone and procrastinated, right? Give them a 5-minute break. Tell them that their math problem set starts at 6:40, ends at 7:30. Text me a screenshot at 7:30. Right? Do the same thing with a French paragraph. So the thing with being a study skills tutor, I'm not gonna lie, I'll confess to you, it does take a lot of work on your own time, but it's something that once you get set up as a system, it becomes significantly easier to just kind of do remotely because you already have a plan in action. You already know what to do, right? Now, what I would say though is we have to be flexible in how we divide each of these sessions, right? So if the kid is like during final exam week, you may want to spend more time on like focus, step 2 and 3 plan, because assessing the student's workload is already captain obvious. They have an exam to study for, right? So you just want to kind of make it a sliding scale. Now, if the parent complains about how little you were able to get through, it's always good to show them, you know, how much history there was to begin with. I had a family that the mom was really chill, but the dad was not chill. He would like scream at us when like not enough work was done. Yeah, really, it was not fun. So at some point you have to put your foot down and say, look, you want me to rush through this history assignment because this is all the stuff we had to do, right? Or it's better to say, I got through the history with her because she really struggles studying with history. She already told me she doesn't need help with the English, so let's let her do that on her own. You know, so eventually what I did was, you know, I said, I want to encourage her to be able to do the assignments independently, right? And that's why I'm purposely leaving some of these assignments for her to do. And he kind of got the hang of it eventually and started kind of liking the idea because, you know, she was pulling up her own grades at that point, you know, for these sorts of English things. So, you know, be prepared for a lot of, if the parents are nice, great, but if it's a little pushback, stick to your guns. Just say, we are only prioritizing, my job is not to do all the homework assignments, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the sort of thing you want to think about, okay? Now, the second thing I want to talk about is sort of the long-term development of, you know, structuring these study skill sessions, right? So let's take a sample 12-week package, all right? I think that, you know, from the beginning, you can tell your kid, look, I am here to help you with your homework in some respects. I'm also, more importantly, here to help you organize your time, right? So from the beginning, you can certainly be the sort of, you know, support. Plan the assignments for the kid, assess the assignments, you know. But 1/3 of the way into the package, which is probably like 4 weeks in, right, you want to start encouraging your kid to send you assignments a few hours before the session starts or when they get home from school, so that you will double check them with Pupil Path. But I had a kid, she had severe executive functioning issues, but I started saying, you know, Jenny, send me a text with all the assignments that you have due. Because she would just wait until I checked them with her. I want you to go on Pupil Path and check right now. Maybe even if the parent is involved, get the parent to like sit in with the student and check all those assignments and send them to you. That way, you've already cut out the assessment part. You know, probably cut out a good 1/3 of that time. You could devote that to something else, right? 1/2 of the way into the package, around week 6, right? You want to start asking students to pretty much assess the workloads all by themselves. So you should have a text coming in saying, I need help with this assignment in English, this assignment in math, but I'm all set on my French paragraph, and I'm all set on my chemistry problem set for today, right? They should be able to do that halfway through the package, right? 2/3 of the way through the package, week 8, right, the student should really know to send you screenshots of their work without being reminded, right? However, there are some kids that we have to be flexible with. Like I said, I had this kid, no matter what we did, she would have executive function difficulty. She just could not remember to send me assignments. In that case, you have to be adamant about sending them text messages. Where's my homework? Where is it? You know, and they will send it to you. Bottom line, you just want to ensure that whatever you're doing, you know, they are doing what they're supposed to do. Okay?
Azusa?
Yeah.
How do you, I mean, this is a simple enough question, but I'm just in case there's more,
sure.
Right? Do you set cell phone reminders, tasks?
Yes, you're awesome. I was about to talk about, you would talk that, yeah, totally. So, good. What you want to do, actually, you can do this on 2 fronts, and I'm going to give you 2 instances in which this is extremely helpful. I get it. You guys are busy. We all have other sessions to run. I use an app called Delayed, and it was an app that you can download on your phone. And the number that they will get will not be your cell phone number, which seems to be the case with a lot of these sort of capsule text things. Just let them know it's you. And basically, you can set the text to go at 6:30 p.m. saying, where's your bio homework, right? And it'll go out. The kid will get it, and then you can say, text me at my regular number. They'll know to do that next time. The even better thing with delayed, which I loved, so this kid who had these issues, she simply, and I mean, it kind of goes beyond us because we're responsible people. She couldn't remember to hand in her homework in school either. Her teacher would like tell her to do it, but she'd be drawing something and she'd totally not pay attention. So I would be like, Sophie, what time's your bio class start? You check your phone 2 minutes before you get in, right? Because these kids check their phone. Yeah, my bio class starts at 8:05. All right, at 8 o'clock, I'm going to set a delay that says, hand your freaking bio homework in. And she'd actually see it and she'd hand it in. So that's the sort of thing that you're talking about. Can be used both on the personal tutoring front, can also be used in school. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So I think, what we also want to look at here is observing students' progress, because a lot of this progress is a very gradual thing. And unlike, taking an SAT or taking an ACT, there are no deadlines. You should be able to hand your homework in by August 2nd. That doesn't happen, right? So you want to really be kind of cognizant of how automatically they're doing things, right? Now, the end goal really is you'll see improvement in the way that kids are very automatic in the way that they're sending homework to you, right? They're very automatic in discussing study plans. So one of my kids, she really got into it, right? And she was a kind of a detailed, anxious ridden kid who liked to draw these notes out. But gradually, she started saying, hey, Azusa, I made my own plan. You want to check it out? What do you think about this? And I think that's a sort of breaking point. And you should heap a lot of praise on them and see, this is really great. I mean, this is amazing. You did this all by yourself. It makes them feel so good. And they'll be very likely to kind of continue that plan moving forward, right? Now, what you eventually want to get them to do is a lot of them will be very dependent on you to read history readings with them. You know how long these readings go. They will easily eat up the hour. Right? Mm-hmm. You want to get to the point where you read the reading ahead of time, and you and I can discuss the comprehension and analysis questions together, right? Now, that said, the caveat is you must make sure you, the tutor, have access to the same materials, because you can't really wing it, right? So tell the kid, look, if you got the reading handouts, send them to me. Sometimes they have a link on some sort of school website. Send me the link so I can download the document. This is best done, a few hours before the session. If you're not working in the morning, read up in the morning, right? If you can do it the night before, fine, great, that's even better. Just get all the material ahead of time. One thing I will say is that for things like history, it's pretty easy to jump into a history text. So if they're talking about French absolutism, you may not necessarily have to know what comes before to understand the workings of French absolutism. However, if you're dealing with a stoichiometry problem set, that's an entirely different story. You can just randomly jump in. So that's the sort of situation where the kind of time you start with the kid will dictate, right? If the kid is asking for random chemistry help on I don't know, ionization constants in the middle of the year, you might have to put your foot down and say, I'm sorry, I can't do that. You may need specialized chem help with someone who can actually jump in, right? So don't also do more than you can and then get bitten in the ass later for having tried but not quite succeeded, right? That's the sort of thing. But, there are students who will continue to be rather stubborn, who will kind of rely on you for help. And as a doer of homework, here's what you want to kind of do. There are 3 things that you can do, maybe 2 things, and I talked about one of them. For kids who kind of just fail to show any improvement, right? Make an actual study schedule template with the kid, like a blank template. You'll find out what that template is. If you need some help from me setting that up, by all means, Zoom, and I'm happy to set that up with you. But that can easily be filled in as needed, right? Make sure the parent is in on this, right? I love doing the refrigerator method. I'm print the damn thing out and post it to the fridge, okay? You open the fridge every day, you will see this. Just put it on the fridge. Put one in your room. Put one in your bathroom, for goodness sake, right? As many places as possible so they can see it. Let them see it, right? Now, I would also say get the parents involved. So if you have this checklist of assignments, right, make sure the parents are initialing when they know the kid has finished the assignment. That way the parents are informed, everyone knows, everyone's happy, right? The last thing you want to do is just make this independent of the parent and the parent's totally clueless, right? Another really fun thing to do, though, that's even more positive and less punitive, is to devise an incentive program with parents. So for every assignment they complete on schedule, they get an initial, they get a gold star sticker, they accumulate 50 stickers, the parents take them to a movie, right? I did an even more fun thing with this kid who had executive functioning issue. I actually ended up being very close with the family. She did all her work. We had a potluck dinner the following week. It was really fun for everybody. Yeah, it was a great situation. And, truth be told, these parents, if they're reasonable people, will really, really take a liking to you because they think that you have done everything for their kid, kind of not just straighten out their homework, but straighten out their life in general. A lot of them you'll see, hopefully, if they're diligent kids, that the scores, their grades will go up, right? And you'll get a lot of positive kind of feedback from the parents. Use that positive feedback to say, hey, I could really use your help this week. I am preparing my kids for a bunch of SATs and ACTs. Can you kind of be the stand-in with the scheduling, right? They may be happy to help. Ultimately, everybody wants to see the kid improve, but that's going to take it's going to take a little while. So just be prepared to invest a bit of time for the first 3-4 weeks, to be that sort of primary organizer. Okay. Does everything make sense so far?
Yep.
Yeah, good. Okay. So that's the most important thing. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is, for us tutors, when we're going in and kind of looking at a kid from the get-go, how do we know that our students are not organized, not paying attention, or who are procrastinating? This also works very well for kids that we work with ACT and SAT with, because some of them will end up needing your study help, right? So students who are not organized often lose their assignments. They have little to no recollection of where they got their handouts from class, where they put them, right? The other telltale sign, number 2, the homework is not handed in or frequently handed in late, right? Students explain often that they forgot to put the homework in the right folder, right? Or they completely forgot the due date. And these ideas are like, what the hell? How could you possibly forget? But not everybody, we have to understand that not everybody is us, right? Not everyone's that organized, right? When you just kind of ask them on a one-off thing, what do your assignments do today? They just can't put it together. I think I had some science homework. What was the science homework? It was a handout. You get a lot of that. So you want to kind of nudge them to be very specific, okay? Other things that are telltale signs that they aren't organized, look in their book bag. Their book bag it'll look like a tornado hit it, right? The binder will look like it's gone through 9 circles of hell, right? The notebook will be so disorganized, papers here and there crinkled, right? So basically, you'll also see a lot of papers crumpled at the bottom of the bag, right? Papers that were supposed to be organized in filed in one big pile, right? Papers are just chucked into random spaces in the notebook. I had a kid, oh my goodness. So she was doing Regents Bio, and her teacher said that you cannot pass a class actually by state standards if you do not have all the labs together. She ended up missing a lab. We had to do a 30-minute scour of all the notebooks she had through the year. She had put it in some random page. So that happens, right? Also, another important telltale sign is that notebooks are full of doodles and drawings that are not related to class. This means they are not paying attention in class. So you want to kind of put an end to that, make it an issue with the parent. If it needs to go up to the teacher, make it an issue with the teacher. Sometimes you will have to communicate with teachers to be prepared for that. Some of them are really willing to work with you and think they want your input, So at that point, be more than happy to kind of share your knowledge. Truth be told, I had to sit in a couple of IEP meetings with this kid. She needed extended time, was having trouble. I had to go out to the school and sit because they really wanted to know sort of what our input was. So you might have to make time for that too. Right? Another sign that students are probably procrastinating is that the assignments are always incomplete. The beginning is done beautifully. The last 7 questions either not done at all or done very hastily. Make that a note. Get on that kid's case. Nope, that work is not good enough. You will not get the score that you need. Right? If a kid is really rushed, you can also tell that their work and their handwriting is very messy or unorganized relative to the normal quality of work, right? So, for example, if subjects dealing with maths or science, normally that kind of involve a logical series of steps, when the kid does something in a rush, there are little to no steps shown, work is scant, numbers are kind of all over the place, they weren't really focused when they were doing their work. Call them out on it, right? So your work is really usually very good. What happened here this week? They'll probably tell you, right? Another really good sign of not being prepared is you're going to get a call at 11:59 p.m. I need help with my science. I didn't get this problem, right? So this is really tricky. If the kid is usually good, I make an exception and I'm like, you suck, but I'll help you tonight. Okay, on that one problem, I'm about to go to bed, but I'll help you, right? But they do this in a constant sort of stream of, series of things. And then also, then the parent goes, oh my God, Sammy needs help. I'm really sorry. You have to draw the line. Don't respond to the text. Respond the following morning and say, there are boundaries. This was clearly done at the last minute. I'm sorry I wasn't there to help. If the kid, if Sammy had sent this to me at 6 p.m., I would have been more than happy to help. Now that actually leads to one little detour that I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about, right? Is for particularly anxious kids, because I had a child who's very anxious. This can get a little tricky because at the same time, you want to walk a very fine line between being a time management coach or tutor and being a crutch, right? So you should be supportive. Just say, look, I understand that you're going through anxiety, that you're anxious to finish your assignment, and I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you through organizing things ahead of time, right? But set those boundaries, right? Make it clear with parents too. Say that I think it's completely reasonable. I'm happy to give the paper an extra read at 5 p.m., but if your kid emails me at 11 p.m. saying, please read my paper, when I had already done multiple edits during the session, I will not do it. The kid needs to do this on her own terms, right? And you can also say for any kid who actually deals with serious anxiety issues, because this kid that I had, she never thought her papers were good enough. So she would we would have a session and she'd be up till 2 a.m. trying to fix God knows what, right? So I finally had a real session with her where I actually had to yell at her, and I hated to do it, but I had to do it. I was like, look, assignments are finite. You can only do so much. But you cannot be going to bed at 2 a.m. and then getting up at 6 a.m. and then falling asleep for the rest of your classes because you tried to make the paper better than it already was. Take my word for it. If I read it, if I give you the okay, hand the thing in. You have other things to work on. Sometimes it takes 1 or 2 sessions to kind of slap it into their head that is what it is. They'll start realizing when they get so tired they can't handle it. But you want to navigate that line very solidly from the get-go. Don't let them use you as a crutch. That's the most important thing. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, other things that I kind of wanted to discuss here, and I kind of lost my page. Right. Here's the other thing for us, if we're doubling up on ACT and SAT tutoring, signs that students are not organized, not paying attention, procrastinating, is this sort of extreme unfamiliarity with the book of knowledge, especially when we've been working on it for months. You know this already, right? Flip to the geometry section. Oh, I have no idea what that is. You're like, you clearly didn't use this book, right? A way to kind of work around that, and I actually learned this working in Dubai, which is kind of cool. So the way our office is set up in Dubai, every little office pod, because the kids come to us, have sticky notes, a little set of sticky flags. I love these things. Bring them with you. Carry them on your person, because you can say, well, here's a red one. That means we're doing geometry, coordinate geometry, anything related to geometry is red. Then you have kind of essentially organized the book for them. That's actually applicable on a level with a history textbook, for instance, too. Anything that's the French reign of Louis XIV is in red. These are the things you should read for your test. That'll be really easy. You can always remove the sticky flags later too, and it makes it very, very easy to kind of do that. All right. Now, let me see what else. That's some things that we can talk about. Yeah. Another part of this is kind of assumptions that we as tutors make and things that we should do instead. And this comes a lot from kind of assumptions that I made as a sort of junior time management coach, right? So, and this applies on any dimension to even just homework help, but also very importantly to test prep. So, first of all, we assume that students do work daily, and we do not make an active attempt to follow up after we have taught the session, right? So chances are this kid is not going to want to do work after you walk out the door, right? And they won't do it until the day before you walk back in the door, right? So this is the fix, set up a weekly schedule with your kids, for any sort of ACT work, especially. You want to designate consistent days of the week when they check in with you, right? I'm meeting you on Sunday. Therefore, I want screenshots of the work on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, right? They can do it via text or email, right? Now, what they can do here is, you can do, John, like you're saying, you can set up the automated texting to go out. That's a really great way to kind of take a step back, but still be there on them, right? And if they don't do any sort of work, this gets to my second point. We don't want to bother our kids during the week because we don't want to seem mistrusting. We don't want to seem overbearing. And we also kind of want to, we don't want to back out of a checkout plan because we don't want to get backlash from our kids. Oh my God, my tutor is such a bitch. She keeps telling me to do this, right? Well, guess what? It's for their own good, The last thing we want is to have the parents on our back because we didn't check in, right? So the fix here is from the first session of any session, ACT, SAT, time management, lay down the law, right? You want to have the parents in on the session, explain clearly to both the parents and students what your expectations of as a time management tutor are, right? By the way, I think we all know this. We've been working with kids for years, but kids are really good at reading how much they can get away with, and they'll probably use the first 2 or 3 sessions to see how much to test their limits. You know that, right? You act all nice, then suddenly they run off on you, right? So first thing I think you should do is, don't give up on the first or second time a student fails to screenshot their work. Actually get on their case. Where was the work you promised to send me? We agreed that on Monday at 6 p.m. you would send it. I didn't get it, right? Best way to do it is copy the parents on the text, have them there because that's enough to get the kid a little nervous. And the parents they'll eat this up, then they'll be like, Johnny, where's the work? You're supposed to send this in, and they'll be really strict about it. If you do that once or twice, the kids are most likely going to respond, positively. Now, again, you don't want to keep being overbearing. If they start showing kind of like they're doing a very good job, tell them, hey, you've made an improvement. This is really great. I'm still going to check in with you over text, but I think I trust you that you're going to do this on a kind of regular basis. And they'll feel good about themselves. So you have to kind of play good cop and bad cop and, kind of strike that balance. It's a tough balance to strike, but you'll kind of, you'll find out your own rhythm based on your own kind of character and organization on your own. Okay? Yeah. One more thing. We assume that no contact from the student means they're understanding the material perfectly fine, right? Now, 2 truths to this matter. 1, they pushed off the homework and have not done it at all. 2, they're actually really afraid to tell you they don't understand something, right? And this could go for ACT, SAT, history, chemistry, even after you've run a chemistry problem with them, right? So, two fixes here. Again, the screenshot fix is a great fix to, and make sure they don't just show you screenshots of individual problems, be like, screenshot the whole worksheet to me. You can tell them, first of all, what they did, what they didn't do. Johnny, you didn't actually finish the end of this. I think you maybe fell asleep in the middle, right? Can you finish this and send it to me? They'll do that, right? But also, say, Johnny, did you not understand? Was there a reason you didn't actually finish the worksheet, right? And they'll be like, yeah, I kind of didn't understand how to do stoichiometry, right? Now, here's a judgment call. In that case, you could say, hey, let's do a quick 5-minute Zoom. You want to go over more problem? If you have time to do that, that's really great. But on another end, you could say, if you really are short on time, which will probably happen, I can't help you tonight, but why don't you bring this sample problem to your teacher? And go in for extra help. Because the other thing you want to encourage your students to do, by and large, on a gradual basis, is to actually tell your kids, look, I can't be there every time to help you. I do have other students to work with. So I want you to go to the extra help on Wednesday and bring the problems we didn't finish during that session and kind of cover that, right? So you're going to want to use the school help as much as possible as well. Right? And I guess in implementing this sort of, these sorts of fixes and such, you want to also make sure that, it's important to remain flexible and understanding. For students that you have long-term relationships with, some weeks they may be completely unresponsive. Just, say, I think you're slipping a little. This isn't you. This isn't usually you. I want the old you back, right? Don't disappoint me, keep me encouraged. I'm going to help you out. And they'll get it. They ultimately do not want to disappoint you. I had a kid, like, when she didn't hand in her homework, she'd be so guilt-ridden. I had to tell her, hey, it's okay, I get it. So as long as we're human, we're reasonable. Remember, just as long as we're human and reasonable, we can crack the whip when we really need to. All right? Yeah. Any questions so far? Okay. So I think I'm going to use the rest of this session actually to talk about some study skills tips that I did some research, combine them with my own experiences, but these sort of actual study tips that benefit students. Now, I have obviously written this manual out. I've shared it with Sharon, and we're probably going to send this all out to all the tutors, and it's in here, but it's worth talking about anyway, right? So 10 study skills tips for good study habits, right? First of all, don't study at haphazard hours, right? You want to make sure that students are able to identify their most, and for that matter, their least productive time of day. You want to schedule, when you sit down in a session with them, that kind of helps with the regularity, but for the days you don't need them, you want to consistently schedule studying during productive hours and arrange other non-studying activities like hanging out with their friends around the other times, right? So if they are very good at 3 o'clock, tell them come home, have a snack, get it done. You can go out after that, right? They'll love that idea, right? Another big don't, right? Don't block all the studying together for hours on end. Kids will be like, I totally got this. I can do this, right? How many kids of ours can even sit through a session? It's not actually that easy, right? So the brain gets tired, So what I would say is if you're organizing studying with them over the course of the week, or even the course of the day, right? Tell them to take breaks. Tell them you must take a break every hour and 30 minutes, right? I think a good break time would be like 10 to 15 minutes. Don't do anything more than 15 because then they actually will lose their momentum, right? If they have other assignments that can be done like 45 minutes, 45 minutes is also a great time, right? That's what I would say. Another thing, which is important, big don't study on your bed. Oh my goodness, that is the biggest mistake, right? Do designate a space that they can be free of distractions. A lot of the nice houses that we work at have those fancy oak paneled studies, right? Send the kid in there, right? Tell the kid to stand and go there. Sometimes the kid can do work on the dining table if it's clear, free of distractions. That's also a good place to study because mom who's cooking dinner can keep an eye out on the kid, right? That's a good place to do it. Tell them not to study in their room. Yeah. All right. Study tip number 4. Don't start studying without previewing your coming assignments due. I've definitely had kids do this. They go, oh my God, I have like 8,000 things to do. I'll just do the first thing I can get my hands on. Oops, except that was the thing that took you 5 hours to prepare for. Probably not a good idea, right? What you want to do is most likely the thing that took 5 hours to prepare for is actually to be scheduled across 2 days, and the kid didn't realize that. Now that it's 12 a.m., they still have their chem problem set and their French paragraph to write. Ouch, right? Make sure that they can do things. Now, some kids will operate differently. Some kids actually feel really good getting the short-term assignments done immediately. Man, I got all these things out of the way. All I got is that long-term chem studying. I got this, right? Other kids will actually want to take care of the chem studying first. That's a slightly trickier issue. Tell them to limit their time. I want you to only spend an hour and a half on the chem. You get through a certain amount of time, but I want you then to do the sprint assignments next. Then if you have time, go and do the rest of the chem assignment. Sandwich it, But generally, you don't want to do the really long-term stuff all at the beginning, okay? And number 5 is a similar sort of thing. Don't start studying without a plan or outline goals. By and large, that will be taken care of when you actually set up the plan with your students from the beginning, right? Okay. 6 I actually talked about. Oh yes, 7. Study tip number 7. don't get disengaged from the material you're studying. That is a very difficult thing to do, right? Every student will have a different way to kind of stay engaged. One of my kids loved color coding notes. She was all big on that. So I actually bought her a set of pens and I was like, this is my gift to you. Have at it, you know. And she used those pens. She loved them. Right, and all her notes were like organized. That's how she stayed engaged with the material, right? You can also kind of see what your kid likes. You know, other kids may like to highlight. You know, buy them a set of highlighters. Say, this is really special highlighters from your tutor, but encourage them not to over highlight. You know, just highlight what's important, right? I think other things that some kids like to do is the material had a lot of, if a material has a lot of complicated terminology or concepts, encourage them to make a mnemonic device for everything they see. Tell them, hey, I want you to like make a really funny story using these terms and tell me this next time because you're going to be an expert on this topic. Tell me what you learned, but tell it to me in a funny way so it makes the material fun. Right. So some of the kids like to get creative and make funny stories about, you know, the water cycle. I don't know, you know, it's that sort of thing. Okay. Now, obviously, the other study tip, don't cram, pull all-nighters. Okay, yeah, they're rites of passage, but they really don't work. Right. So obviously, you know, for any kind of test setting, you want to make sure that you've planned ahead with the kids so they have enough time to review. Some angsty kids are really going to want to put a lot of emphasis on the review time. Book that out accordingly. Sometimes, like for final exams, I would actually shift the study exam period a week ahead of time. So the kid actually felt like they had a whole week of space to like review everything. You know, you may have to do that if the kid is particularly angst-ridden. All right. Some other kids will think that studying is a sort of testament to their mental powers and their physical powers, and they will deprive themselves of food and drink. Don't let that happen, right? Tell your kid, look, your brain burns like a fifth of your body's energy at rest. No, at rest, right? Imagine how much you're burning when you're actually studying. You must drink water, have a snack when you take a break. You know, I'm not hungry. You will be in 2 hours. And, you know, it's that sort of thing. Listen to your body. That's very, very important. Final important thing, right, is don't mix study time with me time, right? Do not watch Game of Thrones when you're working on your history assignment, right? There's DVR for that, or TiVo, or whatever the new thing is, right? So you tell the kid, you can watch a TV show, but only after you have consolidated your study and made it a point to do a good job, right? So that's a sort of important thing. So those are my 10 study tips. You guys will probably find your other study tips. Add to that, you know, share these with your kids. You can even, you know, update the document if you want. You want to talk about some more study tips? I'm happy to do that, right? So I think the other thing that I wanted to discuss as a sort of final thing is just some ideas on examples of helpful study habits, right? First of all, it's memorization, right? So memorization is a multi-step process. Obviously, it involves a lot of both external and internal cues. You know, so I did my research and, you know, it's like, this is kind of how it works. But information reaches us as a sensory stimulus, right? Through one of the 5 senses, right? Then it's encoded into some sort of sensory memory form of sensory memory. From there, right, our brain will determine what is truly important to incorporate into our short-term memory, other stuff that we can forget, right? And after that, once again, you know, if something is deemed really important, then we kind of encode that into our long-term memory, right? And we kind of consolidate all that stuff, right? So I think, you know, one important and helpful mode of memorization is what we call chunking. You've probably already heard of this, right? So we want to kind of memorize small pieces of information, things that are difficult to do one at a time into one sort of chunk. So basically, you know, I explained this to parents in the manual as like memorizing the digits of the Long Island area code 516 as one big chunk, right? Now you can certainly do that on a studying basis too. So something like if you want to create a broad category or heading, let's say the kid is trying to study Japanese samurai, you know, outfit, right? They don't want to memorize every single part of the outfit. If they chunk it as one big outfit, I have a helmet, I have the shoulder pads, and I got everything that kind of works together, makes it much easier to actually memorize those specific parts of anything. This works very well probably in like if they're being tested on like a chem or a physics lab. How did you set up the experiment? Tell them like, what do you remember the structure looking like in a general sense? Then break down the structure from there. They basically chunked it. Now, from my research, you can basically chunk a maximum of like 7 things into one sort of chunk. So don't ask them to chunk like 30 things because that makes it really, really hard, right? I think that another interesting thing that you can do is, I already talked about the story method. So you can, if you have like a vocab test coming up, or a physics test coming up with very specific terminology, try to have the student create a story that kind of incorporates all these terms together. If they have like an econ test coming up, try to have those, I don't know a lot about econ, but my friends and I decided to buy a bunch of stocks, right? And then obviously the first word is stocks, right? But then we weren't sure how the dividends would come into play. So we had a little chat and, we kind of talked about, some other economic terms. So you see how there's already, this is a really bad story, but there's already kind of flow going on. The kid will know better how to make that because they'll actually understand the terms, but you want to make them create a story, right? That's a story method. Then ask them to memorize that story, because on the test, they will have to recall that story. When they recall that story, they will recall the terms associated with that story. Okay, if they have trouble, sit down and make a story with them. That might require some kind of research on your part and make sure you really know what those terms mean, but it's that sort of thing. Okay, another really interesting method that I love and I actually use a lot personally is called the loci method. So this is actually a method, I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's been around for centuries, actually since ancient Roman times. So a lot of Roman orators, they use the loci method to actually perform speeches without the aid of notes. So what you do here, the method of loci basically means that you're going to think of familiar locations and you're going to associate terms or numbers to each of these locations. I'll give you an example. I'm a crazy person, decided that I wanted to memorize the perfect squares up to 30. It was just a fun thing I wanted to do. I was thinking about, how am I going to do this, right? So I think of my house, right? When I'm driving toward my house, I have a mailbox. I have this mailbox. On the mailbox, there are 2 stickers that represent the people who are living in that residence. One of them is 441, which is the perfect square of 21. And I think the other one was like 482, which is the perfect square of 22, right? Now I have memorized those terms. I keep going, right? I go up to the door. I see another number that it has a welcome sign, and above that there's another number, and that would be like, whatever the square root of 23 is, right? At this point, 529. Yeah, that was the number I remembered, right? Then I walk in, I see my shoes, and they have numbers attached to them too for some reason. I think it was a shoe size, but it had the numbers for like 25 squared. It becomes very easy to recall that. So they can also do that with terms that they're doing for studying, and it's actually something I found to be highly effective. It's like that memory palace. If you guys have watched Sherlock,
yeah,
the memory palace, yeah, I love that idea. It's really fun for them to do, but it's a very high order thing, so you may not want to try that with a kid who's like really struggling to kind of like put their thoughts together. For someone who's highly organized, it's a great idea.
What's it called?
The method of loci, LOCI.
Loci. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, AKA memory palace. The memory palace is actually a little bit more complex because it's a really large scale sort of method of loci that they're using. Started on a small scale, just think, what's on your mailbox? Oh yeah, that's on my mailbox, right? That sort of thing, okay? So that's what I would say I kind of came up with as far as like, studies go. I was going to discuss a little bit more about note-taking skills, but every kid is different with their note-taking skills. I would highly emphasize the use of like colors and highlighters and things like that. I think it's a great idea. But, every kid is different in that, regard. So kind of leave it to them, but, you can, if their notes are highly disorganized, then you might want to say, let's sit down and see whether we can organize your notes into some sort of better, organization, right? Mm-hmm. Hang on, I'm going to turn the lights on. It's like really dark now.
I just noticed.
Yeah, so that's a little better. So I think, that's kind of what I had to share with you guys. I know it's a little bit here and there, but I tried to do it in a way where we structure our sessions, short-term, long-term, obviously, what are things that we should be aware of, and just some very, very specific examples of study skills. But I want to open it up to you guys. Do you guys have any questions, any thoughts, kind of about what you want to do? Like, are you, what kind of subject matter are you comfortable with? Maybe play to those strengths first. So, for example, like John, what are you really comfortable with teaching?
I guess weirdly, I've actually become more comfortable over the years with teaching math.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
it's got steps and a little bit,
Right.
more logical, whereas reading is so, sometimes even when you get the right answer,
It's nebulous, right? You don't
Yeah.
actually know why, right? So
Right.
if you're doing any like ACT stuff or even study skill stuff, play to that strength. Say, I'm really strong with maths. This is something that I'm very good at. I can help your kid, go through this problem by establishing a very specific series of steps. And I think sometimes, like even we're getting to the really nitty gritty, but sometimes kids, all they want, they just want you to say, step 1, this is what you do. Step 2, this is what you do. Step 3, this is what you do. I'm going to write all this down, and you're just going to follow the step one after another after another.
I
right?
want that. That's what I want to learn.
Right. I think we all do, right? So, Alyssa, do you feel also comfortable teaching maths or science, or what do you feel comfortable with?
Science, math, and probably history, because
Great.
what listening to you talk, this is all stuff I did with history to like
Excellent,
AP US
right.
history to memorize. We'd had tests
Yeah.
on like names and dates every week,
Yeah.
like 50 names and dates.
Right.
And I was
right.
doing this stuff. And that's kind of
Excellent. Yeah. So it's one thing to kind of like remember that you're doing it, and it's another thing to like implement it, and it's another thing to like teach it. I think you guys are going to be great because you will. Look, we're all you will slip up at some point. I've made some. I've learned from my kind of teaching errors. Sometimes I kind of took too much information and kid was totally overwhelmed. So you kind of will. You have to do a little bit of moving forward, moving backward, moving forward, moving backward. Because you really have to tailor these sort of teaching to your student and how your student functions, how your student responds. That goes back to my idea of being a human being. Be attentive to that student's needs. If they look really stressed out after the first session, say, talk to me. What was good about what we talked about? What do you have trouble with? Do you want me to break it down a little bit more? And they'll be very kind of forthcoming with you with that. Now, one other thing I want to stress is that you may be forced in some uncomfortable way to deal with subject matter you're not at all familiar with, right? I'm usually good with like chemistry, bio. History was okay for me, but if it was something like economics, you may have to put your foot down and say, I'm sorry, I really can't help you with the econ. That's not something I can do. But if it's something that, there is no other choice, right, but to help. If it's some sort of very obscure reading, make it clear to the kid that you will not help them unless they give you the reading assignment ahead of time. History can be like that,
Yeah.
That it gets very detailed. The comprehension questions, maybe even a DBQ, right? If it's a practice DBQ, give me the DBQ ahead of time. That's something we can certainly work with, right?
Yeah.
But to the best of your ability, see, kids are going to do this. They're going to like think, oh my God, you're Superman and you can do anything on the spot. Remind them that you're human. Remind them that you're human. Remind them you need time to prep because you are a teacher. That's what teachers do. Tell that to the parents. I am not a quick fix. I'm here to help structure the time. I'm here to be the homework helper. But unless your kid is giving me the ammo, I can't fire the gun. Right? It's that sort of thing. But you have to make it very clear to the parent within the first, 1-2 sessions and continually remind the kid about that because they will forget to send you stuff, if they're just kids, right? So that's what I would say. But any other questions on your part?
This may be a longer conversation, but in terms
of
of helping students become like better readers and staying focused while reading, I notice a lot of kids, this is an ACT, SAT thing, just check out halfway through a paragraph. And that feels like a study skills organizational thing to me more than anything else.
I think that's a great question. Definitely another training session we could run on this.
Yeah.
But I would say that it's almost like a stamina thing, right? So you don't tell a beginning runner, go run a marathon tomorrow, have fun.
Yeah.
Right? They're not going to do it, right? You tell them, okay, read for, I mean, run a quarter of a mile tomorrow. You're going to be dying, but run the quarter of a mile anyway, right?
Yeah.
He'll do it. So in terms of reading, it's almost like building up stamina. You can do it in 2 ways. Here are my thoughts. You could say, okay, let's have you focus on 2 sentences. What do those 2 sentences say, right? When they get better at that, 4 sentences. What do those 4 sentences say?
Yeah.
Right? Start building it up, but this is again a whole nother aspect of kind of building up stamina that we're gonna have to work with. Another way to do it that I think might be fun is if you give them fun articles or like Harry Potter excerpts or things that they are destined to enjoy from the get-go. Gradually start turning that into something like op-ed articles, cool articles about architecture from CNN. Start factoring some less fun stuff in, politics, economics, finance, right? And you don't have to do a complete turn, right? You can say, I want you tonight to read this part of Harry Potter, but I also need you to read this article I picked out from CNN, right? That way you're actually like kind of structuring their reading on a very long term, and they might actually be more likely to kind of focus if they have an incentive.
Yeah.
If you focus on a finance article, I'm going to find you a really fun book to read. Right?
Yeah.
Also, above all, like encourage them to read,
Yeah.
A reading list, what's their favorite author? Hey, let's read up, I'll read the book with you, right? That sort of thing. I read the book, you read the book, we talk about it on a weekly basis, that sort of thing too. That's kind of fun to do. I think that's something, but of course, I'm happy to do more research into like what some actual techniques are, to like really focus on that. But that's what I would say. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. John, questions?
No, I guess not. Well, no, I guess not.
Yeah. Well, you guys are always free to follow up. I'm happy to run more Zoom training sessions. If there's something you didn't understand, just shoot me an email. I know there's a big 8-hour time difference, but it's nice seeing you guys. I'm happy to talk it over, yeah, if you don't have any other questions, I guess that's good for now.
How's it going out there?
Oh my God, you guys have to come visit. You would love Dubai. I thought I was going to have some serious misgivings, but if you guys are actually interested in coming out and, working overseas and doing a little bit of stuff, I mean, the program we're kind of kicking it back up, but we could really use some like really experienced tutors and be awesome to see you guys. Even if it's for like a 6-month stint or something, think about it. It's a great city. It's like hot and hotter, but it's... If this is not an incentive, McDonald's delivers. Every place delivers. You call them and they deliver.
That is fair.
Yeah, right?
Really fair.
The falafel is to die for. I found a place down the street. The falafel is miles better than anything you'll find in New York. But it's an interesting city. Just come out here and actually just come out and visit or just come out and experience it. It's a really cool place.
I feel like we should do an A-list visitation trip.
Oh, come on. We have a party. Oh my God. Come over. I miss you guys. Yeah. Yeah. But how's that going in New York? I mean, everything's picking up soon, right? Almost.
It's just starting. Yeah. Just starting to. We have our first meeting of the year on Friday.
So you guys got any students to go out and see already, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually not going out to Long Island this year, so.
Oh, really?
What are you doing?
Really?
I don't know yet.
So you were going to take any New York kids this year?
That's my hope.
Yeah.
So far,
I will say
you. I hate you so much.
I
will say on both of your parts, I'm going to say this. Study skills is a great way to stay in New York because New York parents are crazy about study. Oh, one thing I'll warn you about too. A lot of these kids are going to want to have multiple sessions during the week. Final exams, 3 to 4 sessions a week. I had a kid who wanted to meet every day. I was like, yeah, I'm being paid for this. Sure, I'll show up. Be prepared for that. But also be prepared to balance your other workload and say, it's not possible because I do have other kids. But otherwise, it's like totally a money earner. And you can stay in New York. Yeah. And you can stay in New York.
You had a lot of clients? That was actually a question.
I had I had 2 to 3 clients who needed study skills, but all of them wanted like a minimum of 2 sessions a week at an hour and a half per session.
Wow. Okay.
Cha-ching! It was pretty good.
Yeah,
it was pretty good.
That's a big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
That's
big
like
deal.
almost a full workload.
Yeah, it's almost. I had to do very little traveling because all my kids were on that. You know that golden radius, like 86th Street between like Madison and Second.
I know.
Boom, down that block. I was like, that's my money block. I was so sad to leave for that reason. But you know, but like at the end of the day, these kids are great kids. I mean, you will develop a wonderful rapport with a lot of these kids. They'll really look up to you, and they actually want to talk to you about other things too. So it's really nice to have that. You know, that was the greatest reward of being a study skills coach, because it wasn't like, I'm done teaching ACTs, bye, Felicia. You know, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
It was a much, much better sort of situation. Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
So anyway, yeah, I think that's
Thank
great.
you, Jen.
So yeah, of course, I'm so happy to do this for you guys. No, you guys
You're
are the
the
best
expert.
audience. No, you guys are the best audience possible. So yeah, good luck. But again, get in touch if you have any questions. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
okay, no problem. All right.
Thank
Take care,
you.
guys.
Bye.
Yep.
Have a good one.
Bye.
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 See you, AB.
Bye.